Welcome to the tutorial on how to get your spreadsheet ready to import into send-out cards. So many databases can be exported into a version of Excel. And once you've taken your database and exported it, you can now do a couple little things to get your spreadsheet ready to import into send-out cards. So here's a couple tips and tricks for you. First of all, your columns don't have to be in order because you're going to be able to match the fields, which we'll show you in the next video, of how to import it into send-out cards. So don't worry about what order your columns are in, but you do want a separate column for first name, last name, and then address 1. Address 2 is optional, but if you have that, you can have address 2. City, state, postal code or zip, country, if you have different countries. If everybody is in the United States, you don't have to have a country column, but if you have anyone in any other country, including Canada, Australia, or anywhere in the world, then you're going to want to create a country column. Otherwise, it will make the default country USA. Company is optional. Email address. You can have different phone columns if you'd like, home, work, cell. And then you can have birthday, anniversary, and spouse's name, and spouse's birthday. Now you also can create a column called group. And if you are going to be importing your contacts in and want them to be in a particular group in send-out cards, then you're going to want to create a column called group. Now, I want to show you how to do that, because if you don't have a column called group, you'll simply want to right-click and hit Insert, which allows you to create a new column, title it Group, and then you're going to want to type the name of the group. Now, this is very important. You want the actual name of the group to be exactly like the way you named it in send-out cards. So in other words, if I called it Christmas Batch 3 with the X and the B capitalized, you're going to want to do the exact same name of your group in send-out cards. So when you go to send-out cards, you'll notice that I named the group Christmas Batch 3 with the exact same way I spelled it in my spreadsheet. Now, if you haven't named your groups yet, you can simply go to your menu on the left-hand side and go down to groups, and you can create a name of a group by typing it in here exactly the way you want it to be spelled in your spreadsheet. And this is going to ensure that when you import the contacts in, it's going to put it in the correct group and be able to identify the group that you want. So going back to our spreadsheet, if you do not already have a group in here, you can create a group by, again, inserting that column, and then easily you can copy the group that you've typed in there, and then you can just select all the rest of the columns and hit paste so that that group is all the way down your spreadsheet. So that's an easy way to create a group with exactly the name that you want. Now, another tip and trick is that in your zip code column, sometimes Excel does not recognize that it's a zip code, and so for some states like Massachusetts or New Jersey, it won't have that 0 before the name. So you want to make sure you highlight that column and go up to the tab that says Home. And on that tab, you're going to notice whatever version of Excel you have, there's an option to do Format, and then at the bottom, Format Cells. And you're going to want to choose the one that says Special. And this is going to allow you to make sure that your data knows that this is a zip code, and then you can just go ahead and hit OK. And that's going to put in the 0, let's say for Connecticut, 06437. It's going to make sure it has that 0 before the 6. Otherwise, it would just show up like 6437 and the address would not import properly. Another tip is that, as I said, you want a separate column for first name and last name. And sometimes your spreadsheet, when you export it to your database, might be all in one column. So just as an example, let's say you have first name and last name all in one column and you need to separate it out. Well, you can do this easily in Excel by highlighting the column that you need, and make sure that there's no other data to the right of it. And if there is, you can copy this column and paste it all the way to the right so that there's no other data to the right of your column that you're separating. And then you simply go to the tab that says Data, and you're going to click on Text to Columns. So when it pops up, you're going to want to leave it as delimited and go ahead and hit Next. And now you're going to pick the delimiter, which in this case is a space, because that's what separates someone's first name and last name. And so you're going to check off the one that says space and make sure it looks good down here and hit Next. And then you can just hit Finish. And what that's going to do, as you'll notice, it's separated out our columns so we now have first name and last name. In some cases, you'll notice that it separated it into more than one column, because where it says Brad Abramovitz, that worked out great, but where it said Deepa and Aaron Alfano, it's now in a bunch of different columns. So a very easy way to kind of put these columns together is to simply highlight all three of the, or four, or however many columns are separated out, and just hit copy. And then I like to easily do this in Word. There's a way to do it in Excel too, to merge them back together. But if you have Word on hand, it is so easy to simply paste those 4 columns and then click outside it where it's going to give you the option to do layout, convert to text, and you want to separate this text not by tabs, but by other, and you want to put a space in this little box and hit OK. That's going to completely condense those last 3 columns or 4 columns back into one. And then leaving it highlighted, you just copy it, go back to your spreadsheet, highlight that one column and hit paste. It always asks you if it's not the same size and shape, just hit OK. And you'll notice what this did is it pasted everything, like let's say Ann Melissa Kalfas, it puts it all back in that one column so you can delete the other columns. So this is just a simple way to separate it out from first name and last name. And now you have the first name with that first word that was in the column and that last name column with everything else that was in that column. So you can now import this into first name and last name the way you want it printed on the envelope. So that's just a little tip and trick. If you have a spreadsheet that doesn't already have it separated into first name and last name, you can separate it out by using the text to columns feature. So hopefully that's helpful. And then the last trick I have is that sometimes people have a spreadsheet where everything's in all caps, and that's not always going to look the best in your Send Out Cards contact manager, especially if it's in their name or if it's in their address or if it's in their city. So an easy way to take care of everything in all caps, I'll just give this as an example, is again, you copy the column that you want, Control C, and then easily go into Word and paste it. And now you're going to want to do Control A to make sure everything is highlighted, and simply go to whatever version of Word you have has something similar to this. In my version, you're going to want to go to the one that has this big A and little a next to it. And you want to choose the one that says lowercase if it's all caps. So that puts it in all lowercase. And then, once again, do capitalize each word. And that is going to make sure that not only did it take it from all caps to all lowercase, but then it capitalized each word. So now this is going to look a lot better. You copy it again and simply paste it in your spreadsheet and hit OK. And now, as you can see, my all caps has turned into capitalizing each word. So that's a quick and easy way to make your spreadsheet look great before you import it into Send Out Cards. So once again, we have the tip and trick of making sure that your zip code column is formatted, so it will add that extra 0. Being able to add your group column so you can import it in and have it named exactly the same as you named it in Send Out Cards. Being able to take care of any all cap columns or mixed, some are caps and some aren't. You can change that by pasting it into Word and easily manipulating it. Or you can separate out your first name and last name columns if they were all in one. So hopefully that will help you prepare your spreadsheet. Once again, it doesn't matter what order your columns are in, as long as you're going to go ahead and map them, make sure each thing is named individually so you know what column it is, and you're going to be able to import that into Send Out Cards. Now, the final thing that you'll want to do before you import it in, once it's all ready, you might want to just save it as is, since you made some changes. And then the final thing you're going to want to do is save it in the format called Text Tab Delimited. So do Save As. And instead of a CSV or an Excel file, you want to save it as the one that says text and then in parentheses tab delimited. And this is the format that Send Out Cards can read. So we're going to go ahead and let's name it Christmas Batch 3. And then I like to put a TD there so that I know it's text tab delimited. Make sure you know where you're saving it. So I'll save it in Documents and go ahead and hit Save. Now it will always say that the format might not be compatible, but just always hit Yes. And now you are ready to import this list where I've saved it under Documents and I've put the TD next to it. I'm ready to import this into Send Out Cards so you can see the next video on how to do that.